Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I'm Bennett, 29, and my ex-wife Eliana, 27, and I were married for 5 years. I used to think marriage meant being teammates, having each other's backs, growing together. What I got instead was 5 years of walking a minefield while pretending I wasn't hearing the ticking. Let's back up. I have a daughter, Aria. She's 9 now. Her mom checked out of the picture when she was barely 6 months old. No drama, no custody battle, just dipped. So yeah, I've been dad and mom since before my kid could crawl. I didn't complain. I didn't need to. We figured things out together. She was my world. And honestly, raising her gave me more discipline than any self-help book or overpriced podcast. When I met Eliana, Aria was 4. Eliana was 22 then, fresh out of college. She worked in PR, dressed like a Hallmark movie protagonist, but carried herself like someone who thought she'd figured out life because she'd done 1 therapy session and read 3 chapters of The Power of Now. At first, she was sweet. Overly sweet, the kind of sweet that felt like a job interview. Aria liked her, of course. Kids just want people to be nice. And Eliana was nice to her face. But there was this twitch in her smile anytime Aria got too much attention. I told myself I was overthinking it. I wanted to believe she was just adjusting. She was young, maybe not used to being around kids. I was dumb. We got married 2 years later. And I'll admit, those first few months were fine. Aria started calling her Eliana, not Mom. And Eliana never pushed for anything more. I thought that was respectful at the time. Now, I think it was convenience. She didn't want the responsibility. She wanted the role, the Instagrammable moments, without the behind-the-scenes work. Everything unraveled 2 years ago. Aria was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. I won't name the type because I still can't say it out loud without feeling like I'm choking. All I'll say is, it hit fast and hard. One day she had a fever. The next day I was sitting across from a doctor, hearing words like aggressive and intensive treatment. My world stopped. The job, the house, everything took a back seat. I moved into the hospital with her, slept in that weird plastic recliner chair next to her bed, ate whatever the nurses were kind enough to bring me. I memorized the sound of her monitor, the timing of her meds, the name of every shift nurse. I could tell by her breathing when a bad night was coming. Nothing else mattered. And through it all, Eliana started acting off. At first, it was little things. She'd sigh when I didn't text her back right away, those passive-aggressive exhales you could practically hear through the phone. Then it turned into complaints. How she felt like she was losing herself because I wasn't around enough. I tried to be patient. I told myself grief manifests in strange ways, even if it wasn't her grief. One night, I went home for an hour to shower. Just an hour. The hospital smell had settled into my skin, and I needed 10 minutes to feel human again. When I got back, she was on the couch, wrapped in a throw blanket, fake coughing like she was in a bad school play. "I think I'm coming down with something," she said, sniffling, her eyes wide like she expected something from me. I didn't even sit down. "Then maybe don't come to the hospital," I said. "Aria's immune system is." "Oh, so now I'm just a risk to your real family?" she snapped. I remember just standing there, towel still over my shoulder, staring at her. I should have left right then and there. But I didn't. I had a daughter in a hospital bed who needed me more than I needed to be right. It didn't stop there. She kept escalating. Suddenly, she had chest pain, dizziness, tingling, weird symptoms, she called them. She booked herself a CT scan. I found out after the fact. She texted me the appointment time like it was some emergency. I panicked, left Aria with a nurse, raced over, only for the scan to come back clean. She just shrugged. "The body holds stress in strange ways," she said, sipping her iced latte like we hadn't just spent 2 hours and a deductible for nothing. Meanwhile, Aria was losing her hair, losing her strength, trying to smile through chemo while throwing up blood, and I was balancing vomit bags with one hand and insurance calls with the other. And Eliana? Eliana never asked once about the treatment plan. Not once. Never asked how Aria was really doing. She never stayed overnight at the hospital. Never offered. When she did visit, she'd sit in the corner scrolling through her phone or complaining that the nurse forgot to bring her water. I remember one day in particular. The nurse came in, cheerful, trying to lift Aria's spirits. She walked right over, smiled big, and said, "Hey, sunshine," to my daughter. Eliana, without missing a beat, muttered under her breath, "Swear to God, guess I don't exist anymore." I remember that moment more clearly than most of the actual medical conversations. Not because of what she said, but because I realized something dangerous. She wasn't sad. She wasn't scared. She wasn't overwhelmed. She was jealous. Not jealous of the cancer, not of the fight, but jealous of the attention. Jealous that my love had a direction she couldn't control. She didn't see Arya as her stepchild. She saw her as competition. In Eliana's world, love was a zero-sum game. If I gave it to someone else, it meant there was less for her. She needed to be the star, center of gravity. Anything less, and she'd crumble. Or lash out. Or, in this case, start inventing health issues just to pull me back into her orbit. Looking back, I can't believe how much I let slide. But when your kid's fighting for her life, you don't have time for marriage counseling or emotional chess matches. You just survive the day. And maybe that's what Eliana hated most. That I had something bigger than her to live for. That I didn't revolve around her mood swings and manipulations anymore. She couldn't compete with a dying child. And she knew it. I saw her for who she really was when she made that comment. Guess I don't exist anymore. That wasn't a cry for help. That was a tantrum. That was her ripping the mask off for a second and showing me the real face underneath. The version that wasn't sugar-coated or filtered for brunch selfies. That version wasn't loving or misunderstood. It was calculated. Branded. She didn't want to help me or love my daughter. She wanted to be the center of gravity. And if she couldn't be, she'd pull the whole system out of orbit. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just started paying attention. Cold, quiet, intentional. Like a lawyer gathering evidence before trial. Because deep down, I already knew this wasn't going to be fixed with an apology or some heartfelt talk. Some things don't crack, they rot. And once you smell it, there's no pretending it's fresh. By the time Arya was a month into chemo, I'd stopped expecting support from Eliana. I didn't even expect decency. I just needed her to stay out of the way. But Eliana had other ideas. See, not helping wasn't enough. She needed to be seen suffering. Let me clarify something. Eliana didn't work. Hadn't worked since maybe 6 months after we got married. Said her job was to support the family emotionally. Whatever that meant. I didn't push back. I was doing fine financially. My kid needed stability, and I thought if Eliana could be a consistent adult in the house, then so be it. But Eliana didn't turn into a homemaker. She turned into a full-time drama queen with zero chill and an unlimited budget for pity. While I was pulling 20-hour days, living in and out of the hospital, taking work calls from waiting rooms, eating vending machine garbage, she was putting on performances. At first, the show was just for me. She'd cough dramatically in the middle of serious conversations. Talk about headaches and how she hadn't slept in days. Vague chest tightness. I think I might have an arrhythmia. She'd murmur one night while I was trying to calculate Arya's next dosage schedule. I barely looked up. Then she expanded the act to her social circle. I found out by accident. I'd swung by the apartment one afternoon to grab a change of clothes and ran into her friend Alicia outside. She looked startled, then pulled me into a hug. "I'm so sorry Eliana's going through this," she whispered. On top of everything. I pulled back, blinking. Going through what? Alicia tilted her head, frowning like I'd forgotten something obvious. "Her condition," she said. "The doctors still don't know what it is." Condition. That night, I checked her Facebook. I hadn't been on in weeks, barely touched my phone except to check labs or respond to the oncology team. There it was. A long, dramatic status post. "Some days the pain is too much. No answers. Just trying to stay strong. Please don't ask questions." The comments flooded in. Heart emojis. "You're so brave. We're praying for you too." One lady even offered to bring her soup. Soup. Meanwhile, my kid, my actual, real, flesh and blood daughter, was hooked 2 and 4, fighting for her life. I didn't say anything. I didn't confront her. What was the point? I'd already seen how she handled being out of the spotlight. Like a toddler whose favorite toy got taken away. Trying to talk logic into someone addicted to victim points is like whispering into a hurricane. Waste of breath. So instead, I did what I had been doing. I watched her. Carefully. Like I was building a case. Quietly documenting the details while I focused on the only thing that mattered. Arya. When we hit the halfway point in treatment, I wanted to mark it somehow. Let Arya feel something good for once. So I brought balloons, little cards from her school friends. They were handmade, stick figure drawings and glitter and crayons. Hope taped to folded paper. I walked into the hospital room with my arms full. Arya saw me and lit up like it was Christmas morning. Eliana was already there. Surprise visit. She gave me this deadpan look. No smile. No "Hey, how is she today?" Nothing. Just mumbled something I couldn't hear. Didn't matter. I wasn't listening to her anymore. I knelt by Arya's bed and handed her the balloons. Her smile? Worth everything. She had no idea her stepmother was 5 feet away, sulking like she just got bumped from first class. And I know what you're thinking. Maybe Eliana was overwhelmed. Maybe she was emotionally fried. Maybe this was just her breaking down. Trust me, I wanted that to be true. I hoped it was that. I needed it to be that. But then she started doing this thing that killed every ounce of benefit of the doubt I had left. She'd show up to the hospital, rarely, and always unannounced. Never a heads up. Never asked if Arya was up for visitors. Just walked in, slow and dramatic like she was made of glass. Sat down with this sigh, loud, theatrical. One afternoon, a nurse walked in and went straight to Arya like they always did. "How's my little fighter today?" she smiled. And without missing a beat, Eliana said, "I've barely been sleeping." Didn't even wait for the nurse to look her way. Another time it was, "My blood pressure's been so weird lately." Like, who asked? She never asked the doctor anything. Never took notes. Didn't ask me how treatment was going, what meds were helping, what side effects we were managing. But somehow, she always had stories for her friends about how she was holding the family together and managing crisis after crisis. Again, this woman had no job, no caregiving responsibilities, didn't even make a frozen pizza, just sat at home journaling about how hard her life was. And the irony? Her biggest daily task was posting filtered selfies with captions like "still fighting." Then, like a final insult, she had the nerve to say I was emotionally unavailable. Told her friend group that I had become cold, that I pushed her away during a time when she needed support too. At one point, she texted me saying she'd fainted at the grocery store. Said she had to get emergency blood work. Might be anemia, or worse, her words. I was in the hospital, sitting beside Arya while she dozed off mid-cartoon. I glanced at the message and typed, "Send me the results." She replied, "They didn't give me a copy yet." Right. By then, I'd stopped reacting. That was my revenge, indifference. She wanted drama. I gave her silence. Eventually, I told the nurses not to let her into Arya's room without checking with me first. It wasn't petty, it was necessary. I couldn't risk her stress parading into that space, not when my daughter was hanging on by a thread. And Arya, she started noticing things too. One night, after a long treatment day, she whispered to me while I was helping her with her socks, "Why doesn't Eliana like me anymore?" I froze. My hands just stopped moving. That was the final nail. Because when a child with cancer is worried she did something wrong to you, you're failing on a level so deep, it doesn't deserve redemption. Eliana didn't want a husband. She wanted a fan club. And when life stopped being about her, she invented a crisis to stay relevant. That's when I knew. The real disease in my house wasn't cancer. Fast forward. It's been a year since those hospital walls stopped being home. Arya beat it. She fought like hell, and she won. Stronger than half the adults I know. She's back in school. Her hair's growing back in these soft waves, and she's got this weird, obsessive love for plants now. Succulents, ferns, creeping vines. The house looks like a greenhouse exploded in it. There's a monstera in the laundry room. And honestly, I don't care. I'd let her grow vines over the furniture if it made her smile. With her recovering, I started trying to piece life back together. Ease into work. Sort out the mountain of medical debt. Reconnect with the world outside of IV poles and nurse check-ins. And yeah, I tried. Emphasis on tried, to reconnect with Eliana too. Because in theory, we were still married. In theory, marriages survive hard seasons. In practice, she'd already checked out. I just didn't know it yet. Eliana started acting different. Not dramatically, just lighter. She smiled more. Laughed at nothing. Did that thing where she stared at her phone and tried to hide a smirk, like a teenager texting in the back of class. At first, I thought, maybe she was finding her footing again. Maybe, after everything, she was getting her spark back. I wanted that to be true. But then she started humming around the house. Eliana doesn't hum. She's not a hummer. She used to get annoyed if I clicked my pen too much. Then came the late showers. The quick errands, where she came back wearing more makeup than when she left. Suddenly, she needed space to breathe and time to figure herself out, which sounds noble until you realize it's just recycled Pinterest quotes to justify acting shady. The gut feeling hit me one night. I walked into the bedroom, lights low, and found her phone on the nightstand, face down. But the screen was still glowing. I don't go through phones. That's not my thing. Never needed to. Trust, for better or worse, was something I gave until I had a reason not to. But something about the way she froze when I looked at it, like the air got sucked out of the room. Yeah, my instincts weren't sleeping. Still, I didn't say anything. I didn't have proof. Just noise. And after everything I'd already lived through, I wasn't about to light another match based on hunches. I didn't have it in me to start a war without evidence. Then one night, I got a call. Blocked number. Normally I don't answer those. But something, call it curiosity, call it God, made me pick up. "Hi, is this Eliana's husband?" The voice was cautious. Nervous. Maybe female. Sounded like she'd been rehearsing that one line for hours. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Who's this?" "My name's Grace. I don't know how to start this, but I think your wife is sleeping with my boyfriend." I sat down. Slowly. My hands went cold. "His name's Christopher," she continued. She said they used to work together. That name snapped into place instantly. Eliana had mentioned a Christopher. Briefly. One of those he's annoying but funny types. PR guy? Loud shirts. Bad cologne. The kind you roll your eyes at and forget 10 minutes later. I hadn't thought much of it. Why would I? Grace said she found messages. Hundreds of them. Long texts. Flirty stuff. I miss you. When are we doing that again? Hotel receipts. Voice notes. Photos. The kind you don't send if you're just coworkers. I swallowed hard. Can you send them to me? She hesitated. Are you sure? Yeah, I said quietly. I need to know. A few minutes later, she emailed me a zip file. Labeled sorry. It took me 15 minutes to open it. My hands were shaking, not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. This wasn't a plot twist. This was confirmation. The messages weren't just sexual. They were theatrical. Like Eliana thought she was starring in some indie romance movie. There were long, self-important paragraphs about how alive she felt with Christopher. About how she'd never been seen before. One voice note had her whispering, "He makes me feel like a woman again." I damn near crushed my phone listening to it. And here's the kicker. The reality that sat like a brick in my chest. Eliana wasn't just cheating. She was competing. There was one message I can't forget, burned into my memory like a stain. I love that you choose me over her. Her as in Grace. The actual girlfriend. Eliana wasn't healing. She wasn't escaping a toxic husband. She was playing musical chairs with someone else's relationship. And smiling like she'd won a prize. Another message read, "He doesn't even know how lucky he is to have someone like me." Like I was just some clueless idiot she was blessing with her presence. She sounded smug. Not sad. Not confused. Not even guilty. She sounded proud. Like this was a victory. Like she finally got to be the one someone cheated for. And in her mind, that somehow made her the main character. And me? I was just the extra. The guy off camera holding the boom mic while she delivered her Oscar-worthy lines. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I played it cool. Kept going through the messages, organizing them, timestamping them in my head. I started matching dates to her so-called errands. Tracked hotel stays against Aria's treatment calendar. And sure enough, there it was. One of their weekend getaways was the same weekend she told me she was too emotionally drained to come to Aria's follow-up oncology appointment. That part hit different. She wasn't just cheating. She was ditching Aria's medical recovery to play mistress in a Marriott suite. After that, I started moving differently. Subtle stuff. Watching her without reacting. Documenting. Not engaging. Because I knew her type. She thrived on drama. If I gave her emotion, she'd flip the script, become the victim. Say she was lonely. That I shut her out. That she needed something to hold on to. Nah, not this time. I didn't yell. I didn't rage. I didn't pack a bag and storm out. I just observed. I let her keep thinking she had the upper hand. That she'd gotten away with it. That I was too blind or too broken to notice. Meanwhile, I was building a silent case. Not for her. For me. Because it finally clicked. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about healing. This wasn't about pain. Eliana didn't cheat because of what I lacked. She cheated because she needed an audience. But I didn't confront her. Not the day I found out. Not the next day. Not the next week. That would have been emotional. Messy. Reactive. And she would have loved that. No, I played it different. I acted like I didn't know. Like everything was normal. Like I was still the same tired husband trying to hold our house together with duct tape and caffeine. Because I needed time. Not to forgive her. To load the gun properly before pulling the trigger. Metaphorically, of course. So while Eliana skipped through the house, humming and texting Christopher like a giddy middle schooler, I started getting everything lined up. Quietly. Strategically. Legally. First move, I called my friend Eric. He's not a lawyer, but he went through a nasty divorce a few years back. He gave me names. I spent an entire afternoon making calls, setting up consultations. Booked 3 back-to-back meetings for the next week. Used PTO for all of them. Didn't even tell my boss why. Just said, personal stuff. He nodded. Like he knew. Each lawyer told me the same thing. Don't react. Don't leave. Don't confront. Not yet. Collect. Prepare. Be cold. So that's what I did. The house was in my name. Bought it before the marriage. First thing I did was pull the title, verify the mortgage trail, check the deed. All mine. Then the bank accounts. We had one joint, but I'd always kept separate ones too. Just a habit. A smart one, in hindsight. I went through everything. Checked the terms on the joint account. Made sure I had documentation for every deposit, especially the big ones. Bonuses. Contract payments. Tax returns. Every financial breadcrumb. I printed it all. Started a folder in my office drawer labeled 2023 taxes. Just in case she ever poked around. Then came the real work, digital trail cleanup. Changed all my passwords. Email. Cloud storage. Banking. Everything. Logged her out of every device tied to mine. Started backing up my photos. Messages. Screenshots. Made a private Google Drive. 2-factor authentication. Nobody but me had access. Then I got smart with location data. started pinging where she said she was versus where she actually went, tracked the lies without ever saying a word. Every hotel booking that overlapped with errands. Every coffee run that somehow ended up near Christopher's office. I logged all of it. Timestamps. Screenshots. Even a few security cam shots from our smart doorbell she forgot existed. She was sloppy. Real sloppy. Because she thought I was distracted. Or maybe she thought I was too broken to notice. Either way, she didn't see it coming. That was her weakness. She thought deception was power. I was about to show her what actual leverage looks like. Next, I called the bank. Separated what I could. Froze the cards we shared. Pulled up statements from the last year. Labeled anything sketchy. Found out she'd used my card to book 2 hotel nights. Weekends she claimed she was emotionally exhausted. Gotta love irony. I even called HR at my company. Asked what the process was for adding or removing a dependent from insurance. The lady on the phone paused and asked, "Is everything okay?" I told her, "It's about to be." When I had everything. Financials. Messages. Timeline. I went to the attorney I liked best. Guy was calm. The kind of calm that makes noise feel insecure. Plain suit. Black coffee. Like it was a moral stance. He flipped through my binder. Slow, deliberate. Didn't say much. Just nodded. Finally, he looked up and said, "You've got her dead to rights." I asked him what I could expect. What would honestly happen? He said, "If she doesn't contest, this will be clean. She's got nothing. You didn't adopt her. No joint kids. House and assets are yours. If she tries for spousal support, we'll bury her in receipts showing she contributed nothing." That's what my lawyer said. And he meant it literally. I had 6 months of food delivery orders, Amazon boxes, grocery bills, all in my name. She hadn't bought so much as a sponge. The cherry on top? She hadn't worked in 3 years. Claimed she was managing the house emotionally. Her words. No paper trail. No income. No leverage. We drew up the paperwork. I kept it in a folder in the drawer beside my bed. Right next to it, her texts with Christopher. Just in case she ever tried to pretend it wasn't cheating. I waited a week. Let her hum her little love songs. Let her think I was still playing husband, still clinging to the edges while she danced in the center of her own betrayal fantasy. Then I picked a Saturday morning. Aria was out with her aunt, sleepover. The house was still, quiet. Eliana was in the kitchen, making coffee, like she didn't just nuke our marriage over a few compliments and a hotel minibar. I sat at the table, calm, clarity sharp enough to cut glass. "Hey," I said. "Sit down. Need to go over a few things." She turned, mug in hand, raised an eyebrow like I was about to ask her if she'd paid the water bill. She hadn't. "What's up?" she asked, casual. I opened the folder, laid it flat on the table. She looked down. Her eyes flicked over the header. Legal names. Signature lines. "Wait, what is this?" "Divorce papers." Silence. She blinked twice. Looked like she was buffering. "What?" I reached into the folder again. Pulled out the second stack. Her texts. Her hotel receipts. The GPS pings. A small map I printed from Google, showing the overlap between Christopher's office and her errands. She didn't touch them. Just stared. That smug glow she'd been walking around with all month? Gone. Replaced by something raw. Cornered. "I've known for a while," I said. I didn't say anything because I wanted to do it right. Quiet. "Legal. You went through my phone," she snapped. "No," I said. "Grace did. Christopher's girlfriend. She sent me everything. I just verified it." Her jaw clenched. "You're seriously doing this?" "You already did it," I said. "This is just paperwork." She opened her mouth again, but nothing came out. I didn't wait. Didn't give her time to spin it. I had everything handled. Lawyers lined up. Bank accounts separated. House was mine. Legally, provably, unquestionably mine. "You can take your personal stuff," I said. "But that's it. No more drama. No more conversations. Everything goes through legal from here on." She blinked like I'd hit her. But I didn't flinch. Didn't yell. Just sat there like it was any other Saturday morning. Because I wasn't giving her a scene. I was giving her consequences. She wanted attention. I gave her silence. She wanted chaos. I gave her paperwork. She wanted to be chosen. I chose to leave. At first, she didn't say a word. Just sat there, staring at the papers in front of her like they were written in a language she didn't speak. She blinked once. Twice. Mouth slightly open. But nothing came out. Then it hit her. Like the delay finally caught up. She looked up, locked eyes with me, and said it. "Now you know what it feels like." And that told me everything I needed to know. I smiled. Actually laughed. Not out of humor. Just sheer disbelief. The audacity. "No," I said, leaning back in the chair. "I don't know what that feels like. I never cheated. I never lied. I never faked a health condition while Aria was literally hooked 2 and 4. I never weaponized victimhood to get attention from strangers." She folded her arms, tight, like a brat in timeout. "You ignored me for months," she said. voice sharp. There's a difference, I replied, between being ignored and not being the center of attention every second of the day. You weren't invisible. You were inconvenient. And you didn't like that. She scoffed. I was hurt. No, I said. You were bored. Then came the spin. That look she gets, like she's lining up her next emotional monologue. I didn't do it to hurt you, she said. I did it to even the score. You shut me out. You chose her over me. Her, I said flatly, is a 9-year-old fighting cancer. Not exactly a fair competition. She shrugged. Still felt like I didn't matter. You didn't want to matter, I said. You wanted to win. That's not revenge. That's insecurity. She didn't deny it. Didn't fight it. Didn't argue. She just looked back down at the paperwork again, fingers tapping the edge, like she was hoping the pages would rewrite themselves. Finally, she muttered, I just wanted to feel chosen for once. I let that hang in the air for a second, just long enough for her to taste the weight of her own words. Then you should have chosen better, I said. Calm. Not cruel. Just done. That's when the switch flipped. She got up and started pacing around the kitchen like we were in the middle of a therapy montage from some movie she thought her life was supposed to mimic. You're really doing this? She asked, eyebrows pulled together in forced disbelief. After everything we've been through, you're just done? I've been done, I said, not even looking up. This is just the part where I signed the exit papers. She scoffed, rolled her eyes like I'd told her she couldn't borrow my car, not that I was divorcing her. So that's it. We're just throwing it away. I looked at her. Really looked. You cheated. Repeatedly. On purpose. While Arya was recovering. While you were living rent-free. While you were pretending to be sick for likes. There's no we left, I said flatly. And then, like it was the most logical sentence in the world, she dropped the cherry on top of her delusion sundae. Look, maybe we both made mistakes, she said. Maybe we just needed space. But now that everything's out, maybe this is what we needed. A reset. A clean slate. Start fresh. No more secrets. I stared at her like she'd grown another head. Like she was speaking a language no one on earth had invented yet. You think this is us being even? I asked deadpan. She nodded, actually nodded. We're both hurt. You neglected me. I made mistakes. Now we can move forward. If we want. You cheated. I repeated slowly, like I was explaining it to a child. You faked a whole emotional crisis. You tried to hijack a real tragedy for attention. And now you want to hit a reset button like this is a game of The Sims. She crossed her arms. So that's a no? That's a hell no, Eliana. And then, she tried the last trick she had left, crying. But not real crying. Not sobbing or breaking down. Just the type where the tears sit in the corners of your eyes, ready to fall, but never actually do. Like she was waiting to see if I'd take the bait. If I'd comfort her. If I'd forget everything just because her eyes got glassy. I didn't. Instead, I reached for the second folder. Bank statements. Credit reports. Copies of our prenup. Thank God I listened to my dad back then. Screenshots of every digital receipt showing I paid for everything. From rent to groceries, to her 3 separate streaming subscriptions. Here's what's going to happen, I said, calm as ever. You're going to sign the initial separation paperwork. My attorney will be contacting you officially on Monday. You'll respond through legal channels. You won't contact me directly. You won't post anything online. Her jaw clenched. You're trying to erase me. I didn't even blink. You did that yourself. I'm just making it official. You can't just kick me out like this. I can, I said, cool as ever. And I will. House is mine. You never paid into it. No kids. No job. You don't qualify for spousal support. And before you even try to argue, I tapped the folder. I've got legal counsel and receipts for everything. She shook her head slowly, like I was speaking nonsense. Like the world had flipped upside down, and I was the crazy one. This is cruel. No, I said. This is consequence. You wanted to feel chosen? Congratulations. You've been chosen for removal. She went quiet again. Sat back down. Didn't cry. Didn't beg. Just stared, numb and cornered. I stood up, grabbed the folders. You have until Sunday night to get your stuff. After that, my lawyer handles everything else. I'll be staying with my brother until then. She didn't follow me to the door. Didn't ask me to stay. Didn't deny a single thing. Because deep down, she knew. She made her move. I made mine. Except mine didn't come with apologies or half-baked justifications. Mine came with contracts, dates, and a closing chapter. She cheated for attention. I filed for freedom. By the time I left the house for good, Eliana was still stuck in her own rerun, walking around like she was waiting for a rewrite of the ending she thought she deserved. She genuinely believed I'd fold eventually, that I'd cool off, come back, see her side. Maybe she thought we'd cry together and rebrand our marriage as some redemption arc. That was 2 weeks after I served her. I stayed with my brother while everything went through legal. She texted me once. Just said, "Can we talk?" I ignored it. Best advice I ever took, courtesy of my lawyer. Do not respond. Turns out, Eliana wasn't the only one watching her fantasy cave in. About a week after I served her, I got a DM on Facebook. Grace again, Derek's now ex-girlfriend. Except this time, she wasn't just venting. She didn't just break up with him. She launched a one-woman revenge campaign with the precision of a military operation and the receipts of an IRS audit. She didn't just send me those screenshots. She sent them to Christopher's boss. Apparently, Christopher had been using his corporate travel account to book hotels for him and Eliana. Love notes sent from his company email, timestamped selfies in hotel robes during work hours. Grace forwarded all of it straight to HR. Every disgusting detail. Word is, he got called into a meeting thinking it was just about unauthorized charges. He walked out with a box of his desk plant and a severance envelope. Fired. On the spot. No investigation. No second chances. Company policy was zero tolerance for fraud and misconduct. Guess the IT department doesn't love when you use your work laptop to plan side chick vacations. But Grace? She didn't stop there. She went nuclear. She posted a thread on Facebook, a full breakdown. Dates, screenshots, timeline. She even included some of Eliana's cringiest messages. Stuff like, "You make me feel alive again. I love that you're willing to risk it all for me." A real Hallmark horror show. Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Her post got shared over 100 times. The comments poured in. Most were mutual friends, old college acquaintances, people from our neighborhood, folks from Christopher's job. The reactions ranged from WTF to "this explains a lot." Eliana's image? Obliterated. People who used to comment under her filtered selfies with heart emojis were now tagging each other like, "Bro, is this for real?" See, Eliana had built a whole identity online around resilience and healing energy. Trauma survivor, inner light chaser, crystal girl with curated vulnerability. Her followers were mostly women who genuinely believed she was recovering from something deep and personal. She milked that fake illness storyline so hard during Aria's chemo. She even had a highlight reel on Instagram called The Journey. Grace nuked it in one night. Eliana tried damage control, of course. Posted a half apology, vague, rambling, faux deep. "I'm processing complex trauma. Sometimes people make decisions from a place of pain. No names. No ownership. Just word salad." Nobody bought it. Her follower count tanked. Friends stopped commenting. Even her ride or die girls unfollowed. And the ones who didn't? Silent. But the most telling part? Her own mom called me. I didn't answer the first time, but she left a voicemail. Her voice shaking. She said she was sorry. Said, "This is not the daughter I raised." She didn't try to excuse anything. Didn't even ask me to reconsider. She just said she hoped Aria was doing okay. I'll give her credit for that. She didn't try to spin it. She just owned the shame her daughter wouldn't. Eliana, though? Different playbook. She tried to text me again, this time with a new angle. He ghosted me. He was never who I thought he was. I read it. Didn't respond. A few hours later, she tried again. "I don't have anywhere to go. I've been staying with a friend, but it's not working out. I don't have a job, and I can't even afford gas right now. I don't know what to do." Translation: Christopher wasn't the golden ticket she thought he was. Probably dipped the second the fantasy got real. No shared apartment. No savings. No night in shining gym shorts. Just reality. Brutal, loud, and unpaid. And she couldn't sweet-talk her way out of it. She didn't say his name, but I could read between the whiny little lines. Plan B told her to figure it out. Now she's hoping to rewind the tape and pretend the mess never happened. Then came the kicker. "I just want to come home. You and her. That was real. I messed up." Nah. What's real is me saving every message and forwarding it to my lawyer like it's part of my morning routine. What's real is that she left the minute her fairy tale side quest looked shinier. And what's also real? Actions have consequences. She's just finally meeting hers, without a man to bankroll the escape this time. That weekend, I got word she moved into her aunt's spare room. I didn't even have to kick her out. She left voluntarily, probably thinking she was preserving whatever image she had left. I heard the aunt's place was small, one bedroom, no guest bath. Eliana went from being a curated piece in her Pinterest-decorated townhouse to sleeping under a floral comforter from the early 2000s. Christopher? From what I heard, he tried to do damage control too. Tried to gaslight Grace into thinking she'd overreacted. Sent her some half-assed, "I never meant to hurt you" email. And got flamed in the comments of his own thread by random strangers. Somebody even pulled up his Yelp reviews and started leaving clown emojis. Poetic. The best part? I didn't lift a finger. I didn't post. I didn't share. I didn't argue. I let them ruin each other. I stayed quiet. Logged off. Let natural selection do its thing. They weren't soulmates. They were just two bored, validation-hungry people using each other as mirrors. And when it all shattered, They both realized they were staring at nothing. People keep asking if I feel better now, if the revenge helped. Truth is, I don't feel anything. And that's the best part. I didn't need to scream, didn't need to expose her myself. I just stood still and let her sink under her own weight. Eliana wanted attention. Now no one's looking. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.